Close your eyes and think back to the first time you ever twisted a throttle on dirt. The world smelled of dust and fuel. The trail stretched out like an endless adventure, and the sound of that engine felt like freedom itself. For some of us, it was the little Honda XR that never quit. For others, it was the screaming YZ that taught us how to fly. These weren't just motorcycles. They were trusted companions, built to take the hits, climb the hills, and carry our memories across the decades. Today, we're looking at 10 of the most beloved dirt bikes of all time. Machines that earned respect not through height, but through the sheer joy they brought to riders everywhere. 1985 to 2000 Honda XR 600R. When Honda introduced the XR 600R in the mid-1980s, they weren't just building another trail bike. They were aiming to dominate the brutal Baja desert races. And for nearly 2 decades, that's exactly what it did. The XR 600R quickly became the weapon of choice for riders who needed a machine that could take punishment mile after mile without breaking down. At its heart was a 591 cubic centimeter single-cylinder 4-stroke engine producing about 45 horsepower. Nothing fancy, no fragile electronics, just raw, reliable power. The bike weighed in at around 280 pounds with a rugged steel frame and a simple Kickstarter. It was the kind of machine you could fix on the side of the trail with basic tools, then ride another 100 miles through rock and sand. Its reputation grew legendary. Known as bulletproof, the XR 600R won the grueling Baja 1,000 time and again, proving itself against some of the harshest terrain on Earth. Riders came to love it not because it was the flashiest, but because it never quit. Even today, enthusiasts hunt down old XR 600Rs, swearing by their indestructible nature. It wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a trusted partner in the desert, a true iron horse of the off-road world. 1968 Yamaha DT1. Before 1968, if you wanted to ride off-road in America, you either built your own machine or took a street bike and hoped it could survive the trails. Then Yamaha unveiled the DT1, and everything changed. It was the first true dual-sport motorcycle available to the American public, and it opened the door to a brand new era. Suddenly, riders didn't need a garage full of custom parts. They could walk into a dealership and ride home on a bike ready for both pavement and dirt. The DT1 carried a 250 cubic centimeter 2-stroke engine producing about 18 horsepower. It was light, agile, and fitted with knobby tires that could claw through mud, yet still roll smoothly down Main Street. Its frame was tough enough for the trail, but slim enough to stay comfortable for everyday riding. For thousands of new riders, it was the perfect gateway into motorcycling. More than just a sales hit, the DT1 became a cultural spark. It marked the true beginning of the Japanese off-road invasion, inspiring a wave of trail riding across the country. By the late 1960s and early 70s, the DT1 wasn't just a bike. It was the machine that made off-road riding mainstream in America. 2000 to present, Suzuki DRZ 400. When Suzuki rolled out the DRZ 400 in 2000, they struck a balance few bikes ever manage: affordable, versatile, and tough as nails. It didn't take long for riders to crown it the people's dual sport, a bike that could do just about everything without breaking the bank. Whether you were commuting during the week or heading out to the trails on the weekend, the DRZ 400 fit the bill. Underneath, it carried a 398 cubic centimeter single-cylinder 4-stroke engine, producing about 40 horsepower. The bike weighed in at roughly 317 pounds, with a water-cooled design and a sturdy frame that could take abuse. Simple, reliable, and easy to work on, it was a machine you didn't need to baby. Performance-wise, the DRZ 400 excelled in its flexibility. It could cruise the highway, explore back roads, or crawl through rocky single track without complaint. Beginners loved it for its forgiving nature, while veterans respected it as a dependable workhorse. Over time, the DRZ 400 earned its reputation as one of the most popular dual sports in the world. To this day, it remains tied to the image of the budget-friendly adventure rider, someone who values freedom and exploration over flash and frills. 1987 to 2018 Kawasaki KLR 650. Few motorcycles have earned the kind of cult following the Kawasaki KLR 650 enjoys. Introduced in 1987, it was never flashy or high-tech, but that was the point. The KLR offered a simple, affordable way into adventure touring, and Kawasaki kept it in production, with only modest changes, for more than 3 decades. Longevity like that doesn't happen by accident. Power came from a 651 cubic centimeter single-cylinder 4-stroke, making around 37 horsepower. Heavy by dirt bike standards at about 430 pounds, the KLR wasn't built for motocross. But with its sturdy frame, long suspension travel, and a massive 6.1-gallon fuel tank, it could cover serious miles. From highways to desert trails, the KLR took riders where they wanted to go without complaint. Its reputation only grew stronger when the U.S. military adopted a diesel-powered variant for use in the Middle East. That image, soldiers riding KLRs through the desert, cemented its go-anywhere legend. Fans lovingly call it the mule of the ADF world. Not the fastest, not the prettiest, but always willing to carry the load. For thousands of budget-minded adventurers, the KLR 650 wasn't just transportation. It was freedom on 2 wheels, rugged and unpretentious. 2005 to present. Honda CRF 450X. By the mid-2000s, Honda knew it needed a new weapon to keep its desert racing crown. The legendary XR 600R had run its course, and the competition was stepping up with lighter, sharper machines. Enter the CRF 450X in 2005, a purpose-built off-road racer designed to dominate Baja's unforgiving terrain. At its core was a 450 cubic centimeter single-cylinder 4-stroke producing about 44 horsepower. The bike featured a lightweight aluminum frame, advanced long-travel suspension, and at last, the convenience of electric start. This wasn't just evolution, it was Honda rewriting the rule book for modern off-road design. On the trail, the CRF 450X struck a perfect balance. It was powerful enough to thrill veterans, yet forgiving enough to inspire confidence in less experienced hands. Baja proved its mettle, with the CRF 450X racking up multiple wins in the 1,000-mile Desert Showdown, cementing its dominance for years. Since then, it has become the gold standard for off-road racing and trail riding alike. Riders call it the modern Enduro King, a machine that blends reliability, power, and control in a way few others can match. Nearly 2 decades later, the CRF 450X still sets the benchmark for what an off-road bike should be. 1970s to present, Yamaha YZ250. If there's one 2-stroke that has earned a permanent place in motocross history, it's the Yamaha YZ250. First introduced in the early 1970s, this bike quickly became a favorite on tracks across America. It wasn't just another dirt bike. It was a fire-breathing race machine that bridged the gap between professional competition and weekend warriors. The YZ250 packed a 249 cubic centimeter 2-stroke engine, putting out around 40 horsepower, but what made it truly special was its character. Weighing in at roughly 220 pounds, it was light, agile, and came alive with that unmistakable crackling exhaust note. Riders who heard it knew instantly a YZ was coming. On the track, the YZ250 was pure adrenaline. It was called the wild horse of motocross, a bike that demanded respect but rewarded skilled hands with breathtaking performance. Pros loved its raw power, while amateurs cherished the thrill of mastering it. What's remarkable is its longevity. Over 40 years later, the YZ250 remains in production with only modest changes, still winning hearts and races. In a world dominated by four strokes, it stands as the immortal two-stroke legend, proof that sometimes you just can't improve on perfection. 2005 to present, Suzuki RMZ 450. When the motocross world shifted from two strokes to four strokes in the early 2000s, Suzuki knew it couldn't be left behind. The answer came in 2005 with the RMZ 450, a machine built to prove that yellow could run with the best of them. From the start, it was Suzuki's flagship motocross bike, designed to take on Honda's CRF and Kawasaki's KX on the toughest tracks in America. The RMZ 450 featured a 449 cubic centimeter four-stroke engine producing close to 50 horsepower. Its aluminum frame kept weight down, while electronic fuel injection delivered smooth, consistent power. Suspension was handled by advanced Showa components, giving riders precision and control whether they were charging through whoops or railing a berm. Performance didn't disappoint. The RMZ 450 earned its place in the spotlight by capturing AMA Supercross titles and proving it could hang with the fiercest competition. Riders praised its balance, plenty of muscle, but not overwhelming, with handling sharp enough to inspire confidence lap after lap. Though it never sold in the same numbers as its rivals, fans call it an underrated champion. For Suzuki loyalists, the RMZ 450 remains the ultimate four-stroke motocross icon, a reminder that greatness isn't always about being the loudest, it's about delivering where it counts. 1990s to present, KTM 300EXC. In the 1990s, while Japanese brands ruled motocross and dual sport, KTM was quietly carving its own path from Europe. Their secret weapon was the 300EXC, a two-stroke enduro bike that would soon become legendary among riders who craved the toughest trails. It wasn't about polished highways or weekend cruises. This was a machine built for the deep woods, rocky climbs, and grueling endurance events. The KTM 300EXC carried a 293 cubic centimeter two-stroke engine, producing nearly 50 horsepower. Combined with an ultralight chassis, advanced WP suspension, and razor-sharp handling, it felt almost unstoppable. Riders discovered it could climb where other bikes stalled, float over obstacles, and power through brutal terrain with ease. Its reputation exploded at events like the Red Bull Erzberg Rodeo, where the 300EXC became the weapon of choice for hard enduro champions. Fans loved its mix of brute force and agility, a bike that demanded respect but rewarded skill like no other. Nicknamed the King of Enduro, the 300EXC turned KTM from a niche European brand into a global powerhouse. Today, it still stands as the ultimate symbol of hard enduro riding, admired and feared in equal measure. 1980 to 2000 Husqvarna TE510/TE610. Long before Husqvarna became a trendy name in today's motorcycle world, it was already a respected pioneer in off-road. The TE510 and TE610 of the 1980s and 1990s represented a very different flavor of dirt bike. European, raw, and unapologetically bold compared to the polished machines coming out of Japan. These weren't bikes for everyone. They were bikes for riders who wanted something wilder. Powered by large displacement four-stroke engines in the 500 to 600 cubic centimeter range, the TE series delivered serious punch. Their weight sat in the middle of the class, but their design carried a distinct European edge. Angular styling, stout frames, and suspension tuned for punishing terrain. On the trail, they were not the easiest machines to tame. The TE510 and TE610 demanded skill, thriving in hard enduro conditions where less capable bikes struggled. For hardcore riders, that challenge was exactly the appeal. These Huskies became symbols of European grit, building the brand's reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Even decades later, they're remembered as the bikes that put Husqvarna firmly on the off-road map, a badge of honor for anyone tough enough to master them. 1979 to 2004 Honda XR 250R. If the XR 600R was the Desert King, the XR 250R was the people's bike, the machine that introduced an entire generation to the joy of off-road riding. Launched in 1979, it carried the same DNA as its bigger brothers, but in a smaller, more approachable package. For countless riders in America and Japan, this was the first real dirt bike they ever owned. The XR 250R came with a 249 cubic centimeter single-cylinder four-stroke, producing around 28 horsepower. At roughly 260 pounds, it was light, nimble, and easy to manage. Its simple design made it almost impossible to kill. Just regular maintenance, and it would run for decades. On the trail, it was forgiving enough for beginners, yet tough enough for experienced riders looking for a reliable companion on long rides, weekend camping trips, backwoods adventures, or local trails. The XR 250R handled it all. Over time, it became one of the most beloved entry-level off-road bikes ever built. Riders look back on it not just as a motorcycle, but as the spark that started their lifelong passion. For many, the XR 250R is more than a memory. It's a rite of passage written in dust and gasoline. From the dusty trails of Baja to quiet country backroads, these 10 motorcycles became more than steel and rubber. They became stories we carry in our hearts. Each one proved that dirt riding isn't just about horsepower or suspension travel. It's about resilience, laughter, and freedom on two wheels. The XR 600R's toughness, the DT1's pioneering spirit, the KTM 300's wild power, all different, yet all loved. They remind us that the greatest bikes are not just the fastest or the rarest, but the ones that stayed with us long after the ride ended. So now let me ask you, which dirt bike holds your fondest memory? Share your story in the comments and let's keep this spirit alive together.